Hey everybody, welcome to IndieQuest, the celebration of the indie and obscure. My name is Josh. I'm one of your co-hosts today, and I'm joined by one of my awesome co-hosts, Blink, also known as Steve. How's it going? Or the other way around?
It's going good. I'm grateful to be sitting inside in a nice warm house with a nice warm cup of coffee, ready to talk about some games, because otherwise the weather out there has been pretty terrible. And you know what? Here's what I decided to do. Okay, I'll introduce the other guy in a second, but it's a temperature that people track in the negatives right now. Okay, with wind chills that are in the deeper negatives. And I said to myself, it's a good day to clean out my garage. So I was out there for like an hour in just a freaking hoodie and a pair of gloves, because that was like the one extremity I decided to protect. And we got that garage pretty good. I'm actually pretty pleased with myself, but it was not my finest call. All right.
I will say, hello everyone. I'm Captain Dracma, also known as Seth. But I will say, cleaning out your garage in the middle of January in negative temps is probably one of the most Minnesota things that I've ever heard. I assume that that's something that a lot of you go through because you're like, well, I got to get the push mower and I got to get the rake out of the way for the snow blower.
It was literally,
so I got to do this anyway.
It was literally a combination of strategic Tetris to, get the new snowblower at the corner of the garage, easy to access. And then also Leah's car, my fiance, her car is like an old junker that we're literally just driving until the wheels fall off. It's beyond like being worth repairs. And it has a leak in one of the tires. So like in good temps, you have to refill the tire like every couple of weeks. But in, negative temps, it's like you leave it outdoors for a couple days and that thing's almost flat. So I was like, all right, let's clear up enough space to get both these cars into the garage.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
I love it.
You got to protect it. Yeah, I mean, I work outside and it was only like, 10 degrees here. Oof. It wasn't in the negatives, but I was still suffering. So I do pest control for a living. And between a 10-minute stop, my spray of my hose froze. Like, it was like, I was like, okay, let's throw on my backpack. Let's do my job, do my normal thing. And I'm like looking at it and there's just this giant icicle just on the end of it. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so
I had my classic, iced Americano. I'm drinking it out there. Again, bring my iced coffee out into sub-zero temperatures. And it started to turn to a slushy in my hands. I was like, I got to drink this fast. I'm running out of time.
You don't even need to buy a freaking like Frappuccino. You can just make one just by being outside. Yeah,
seriously. Just throw it in there and squeeze up your cup a little bit like those classic popsicle makers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cost savings.
I'm very surprised, Josh, that it was that cold out there. I feel like it's never that cold out there.
Yeah, we got like a cold snap. Basically, it was like 3 or 4 days, and now it's going to be rainy and 40 degrees, like it's supposed to be here. So
yeah, for sure.
Well, it's 2024. We figured this episode we could bring some games we're looking forward to for the new year, because like the games keep rolling, they're never going to stop. So do you guys want to just kind of do like a round robin here and just try to like name some games we're excited for?
Yeah, let's knock out some that sound exciting. We're post GOTY. It's time to look forward.
I'm still playing some older games though. I'm still playing some 2023. There was just too many, to not be playing some 2023.
Yeah, 2023, like there were some later 2023 indie games that I really want to get to at the beginning of this year. And I know as soon as I play them, I'll feel bad and start thinking about reordering my list, but we have to move on.
Yep. Only look forward. All right. So I don't know about you guys. I brought 5, but I know I'm pretty sure there's some overlap with some stuff that you guys brought too. So I imagine we'll probably have, somewhere between the neighborhood of 10 and 15 total indies to look out for here. But you want me to kick us off? You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Kick it.
All right. And again, I think the theme of mine that I'm bringing are kind of like, these are some of the more hype ones. People are aware of them. I'm not like plucking the absolute depths to bring you obscure jaspers here, but I'm hyping you up for the stuff you maybe forgot is coming out soon. First one up, Mina the Hollower. Okay.
Oh yeah.
The Yacht Club's games follow up to Shovel Knight, or post Shovel Knight, post everything after Shovel Knight. game that they're releasing. It's got a real Game Boy Color aesthetic, which is like, I see some of these developers had childhoods in or around the same time that I had a childhood. I appreciate that. And I mean, with Yacht Club games, it's like, it's going to be awesome. You watch any of the demos, you listen to any of the freaking soundtrack, any of the music that Jake Kaufman's put out, it's like, it's going to be, primo. I don't actually know when it's coming out this year. It is 2024. It was originally slated for 2023. It got pushed back. I want to say it's pretty close to coming out, but in my quick research, I didn't find like anyone specifically saying exactly when they anticipate it'll come out. But it is a 2024 game, and I think one that I'm pumped for, and I think one that a lot of people are looking forward to, because that studio has just earned, so much respect from people that it's like they kind of have a blank check to try something in whatever direction they want.
Yeah, I actually completely forgot that was coming out, so that's a nice reminder for sure.
Yeah, I remember watching someone I watch on YouTube play the first hour or so of this game, and it looks like the Oracle games for like the Zelda Oracle games.
Yes.
Seasons and Ages. But based on what I've heard from people who have played it, it doesn't necessarily play like a Zelda game, and in a lot of ways is much more, I guess, less intuitive initially, but then you figure it out, of course, but it's more difficult than those games.
Yeah.
Oh, is it turn-based? Or is it like a Castlevania game? That's the vibe I got.
It still plays like plays what you would think
Zelda?
most like a Zelda,
Okay.
like a top-down Zelda, but it does, like, you go into it thinking it's going to be that, and then it isn't that.
Okay.
From what I understand.
Yeah, I'm not. So. I should have pulled the trailer up to look at this because it's been a while since I even thought about it.
Yeah.
You say it looks like Zelda. It's like, this is such a weird thing to hyperfixate on, but when they show footage, the trees in Mina the Hollower, it's got those like Oracle game trees that are like rounded, with kind of these bands of color. Like, you see them and instantly you're like, that's a handheld Zelda tree if I've ever seen one.
They remind me of the witch's house in Link's Awakening, or there's like a tree near the witch's house in Link's Awakening that's round.
Yep.
And that
100%.
Good call out there.
So, pump for that one. That one's gonna be exciting.
It honestly gives me a little bit of a Halloween vibe. Just looking at it,
Yeah.
like the color palette. Has like the purples and the oranges going on.
Yep.
Anyway,
I think that's pretty fair.
I'll go. I got a game. I've brought it up here before. It's called Helskate. It's Tony Hawk's Underground mixed with DMC. And it looks amazing. They have said it's going to come out this year. The more I see it, the more I'm like, this literally just looks like Tony Hawk with the dude has one wing on his back, has kind of an edgy look to it. I think it's going to be a really fun experience. I don't know how deep this game's going to go, but from what I can tell, it's going to be one of those where you're chaining and comboing, and it's going to add a new layer to like a Tony Hawk combo. You're going to like grind a rail, jump off, slash a dude 10 times, and then grind another rail and do a manual, and then do a wall ride and kickflip. Have a good time. So definitely up my alley. And I know Steve loves Tony Hawk too. So.
Oh yeah, I think like arcadey skateboarding is just a genre or like a gameplay style that hasn't worn out its welcome yet. So basically, any game that you tell me has skateboarding in it, I'm like, yeah, all right, let's go. And plus, we needed a good counterpoint, a good foil to Skatergate or 3D, right? We need the tonal opposite of that, and here we go, Helskate. I remember seeing this one in a direct or a showcase somewhere, and I completely forgot about it. So good reminder.
Yeah, I like that. It looks like it's going to incorporate the combat. I see health bars and boss health bars. It looks like that's pretty cool. Like I don't remember very many skating focused games having those kinds of mechanics, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, I would imagine there's like a world you go through. You have to like defeat a boss, and then you get like a letter grade. Like you get S tier, A tier. I feel like it's going to have that system in it too. So I can see myself just sitting there trying to, get a better score, get a better grade. It's going to be a good time.
For sure. All right. I'll kick us off with the next one. 2020, 4 years ago, one of the greatest games ever released. That being
Hades.
Yep.
That's correct. So I'm excited for Hades 2. I don't know about you guys. How much can you even say about Hades 2? I think everybody that's listening to this has probably watched multiple trailers of Hades 2, or if you've played Hades or watched anybody play Hades, you know how it plays. It's a roguelite from Supergiant. It's, there's not very many games that are ever going to come out in any given year where you're going to be like, yeah, that is, like, it hasn't come out yet, but I know it's going to be one of the best games of the year.
Yeah, it's going to be on everyone's list. We're going to be debating like top 2 or 3. That's going to be up there.
Right.
So
I almost am worried for them in a way. I trust them fully. Like I think Supergiant has absolutely earned like my assumption that it's going to be an incredible game. But Hades 1 was so like full featured. Like at no point in Hades did I feel like they left any idea unconsidered or unfulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was such a massive, robust meal of a game where I'm like, do you guys actually have like a whole other game's worth of ideas that you can fit into this world? Like what? How is that possible? So I'm just like, I'm so curious to see how is it going to differ from Hades? How are they going to build on Hades? What is going to make it feel distinct from Hades 1? Because I know it will, or I trust that it will. I just don't know how. I can't. There are better designers than I am a thinker, so I can't envision it.
Yeah, it's coming out in early access, though, right? Is it not a full release, or are they going to just release it?
No, I'd assume they're going to do early access, but...
Okay.
Yeah, they did early access for the original, but yeah, I mean, it very well could be. I'm not entirely sure about that. I know they got such, like, if you watch, what's that channel called that shows like the documentary of like the whole process of
No
Clip. Yeah, and they did like a whole documentary on there, and they loved every part of everything that they did with early access, so I'm sure they want to engage that. They like to be, for as big as they are now, even though they're still considered indie, of course, they seem to genuinely love to engage with their fans and the people who are playing the game, so should be a cool experience.
Are you guys going to play on early access? Are you that type of person, or do you wait for the 1.0?
For me,
I'm usually not. Yeah,
same.
But I might cross that line for Hades too. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what's around at that time, but I might just dip a toe in. It's not like I'm not going to buy it eventually. It's like, so,
Sure.
I might check it out.
Yeah, for sure. Good pull.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, you know what? Well, let's keep talking sequels then. Next one I have on my list here is Hyperlight Breaker. So the follow-up to Hyperlight Drifters by Heart Machine. And this one's cool because it's, obviously with the name Hyperlight Breaker, it is in the same world. It is a follow-up in some form or fashion to Hyperlight Drifter. But it's now in 3D, which it kind of has a similar look and feel in some ways to their last game, Solar Ash, which I think had a lot of cool ideas. So it's kind of like they're combining those two projects into something new and interesting. Plus, this will either entice people or push them away depending on, what type of person they are. But they have said that it is a roguelike. So how that is going to play into things, I'll be curious to see, because their other two games were very much like very narrative driven, like environment first kind of games in my mind. They're incredibly well-crafted spaces that they put you in. So I wonder how their design in that way is going to translate into like, roguelike, presumably randomized runs of some kind. So pumped to see what that'll look like. And again, another one that I don't think has any date beyond it's coming in 2024, but hopefully we see it sometime this year. Solar Ash came out, 2021? I think
so.
Yeah. So it's been 3 years. It would make sense for it to come out maybe, more towards holidays this year. But yeah, I'll definitely check that one out right away. I love Hyperlight Drifter, so can't wait.
Yeah. I was watching an interview with the devs, and they were saying that the way they were talking about this game, it sounds really ambitious. Like they're going to have like different type of monsters each time you spawn in, and like the world's going to be like completely different. It sounded... I'm just saying this. It sounded a little bit No Man's Sky like, oh, we have so much variety. So hopefully that is leaning in a good way. But I know this is going to release early access, so I'm interested to see what they have. So
yeah. Interesting. That's fine. No Man's Sky, a game that has a great reputation with no history or baggage associated to it. So I'm
exactly
pumped for that.
Yeah. Well, these guys have a good reputation though, so like, it's going to be good. I have faith in them.
I'm glad that all the big-ish indie devs are trying their hand at the roguelite/roguelike genre now.
Or you could just, I've been saying rogue type lately, just so you don't have that confusion. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Rogue type. I like it. I like it. But I mean, it seems like everybody is taking a shot at it at this point, right? Supergiant did it extremely successfully, and now everybody's like, well, I think we could do one too. And it makes it so you can make a very fleshed out game, but you don't have to make more game in a lot of ways. It's kind of like a little bit of a cheat code. You don't need so many assets. You really just need to make it good, like work with what you have and make it good, right?
Yep.
So,
Yeah, have enough variety in there. And the thing about rogue type games, now it's just it feels weird to say. I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, that I enjoy is like it's randomized, but in a good way, where like each run feels unique and special. So yeah, that's if they get that secret sauce, it's gonna be cool.
Heck yeah.
sure.
All right. So I have a sequel too called Kind Words 2, Lo-Fi City Pop, which I was a big fan of Kind Words. I don't know if I've ever talked about it on the podcast ever, but it wasn't really a game pretty much. It was more of like a platform to talk to people. And a lot of it was more like you're in a room, you're writing nice words, or you could write about anything, and then people write you letters back, and then you collected stamps and stickers, and that was pretty much the whole game. And it was more like an open forum to talk to people and just have like you could talk about anything, and it was kind of like social media without the stress, I guess. And this one is more like a little localized town that you're gonna go talk to people, real life people, and just have conversations with, make friends inside the game. Kind of looks a little ambitious in that respect, but I'm interested to see what this becomes, because I really thought that was a cool idea to just like it's a game about, speaking about mental health and, having those real conversations. So I'd love to see this continue on to see what it becomes. So it's interesting.
It's an interesting game to get a sequel, right? Because the first game was so like, here's the idea, and it's like the visual trappings of it, like kind of like it was nice looking, but like you're there for the experience of playing it. And it's like, okay, you can't really like iterate on the design of that, so you have to iterate in other ways. So I'll be curious to see what that's like.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to become like a game I'm like, oh my god, this is my game of the year or anything, but it's something I want to like try out when it comes out to see what the new idea is and how they build upon that original idea.
Yeah, it's like Post Secret, but they can send you postcards back.
Yeah, pretty much.
Seems like a comfy, cozy indie Animal Crossing in a way.
Yeah,
somewhat.
It's like the mail system from Animal Crossing with none of the game attached to it.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. I messed around with it for a few hours when it came out. They had like a system with like little paper airplanes that would fly by the room, and you could like click on the paper airplane and then like answer a question that some random person in the world had, and then you can have those like direct but semi-indirect conversations with people about anything. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Very nice. Good pick. Good call up.
All right. So I will move on with my next game. And I wonder if you guys have heard of this, because honestly, this one I discovered when I was late 2023. I was looking, hey, what games do I need to check out on Steam before we have our chat on here? So this game is called Selfloss. Have you guys heard of Selfloss?
I have not.
Nope.
Honestly, I don't know a whole lot about this game other than it seems like it's going to be kind of a 3D top-down adventure game with a very like stylistic look, but that stylistic look is what drew me to it. I guess it has something to do with like whale, like some whale culture basically, where you're on an island or something of people who worship whales for one reason or another. But honestly, the thing that drew me so much to it, and I don't know if you guys are looking at screenshots, but it looks gorgeous. Like I want to play. Sometimes you see a game and it's just like, man, I just want to jump in there. I just want to play that as soon as I can. So that the graphical presentation is certainly the reason I am interested in this game.
Yeah, very like painterly look to it.
Yeah, painterly.
As the only person here who did not play Death's Door, I get a little Death's Door energy from some of the combat here. Like,
you're right.
Seems like camera's pretty freeform, but like, yeah, I don't know. I can see a little Death's Door energy. I see where you're getting hyped about this. Yeah, this looks good as heck.
Yes. So very excited for that one to hopefully come out soon in 2024.
I threw it on my wish list. That looks cool.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, for sure.
All right. Well, I'll pull one out that I know that pretty much all of us have been interested in a while. And that is the Plucky Squire. This is the year of the Plucky Squire, baby. It's finally time. I'm ready for it. So if folks out there haven't seen Plucky Squire, you've seen a GIF of it and you just don't realize that it's called the Plucky Squire. But this is a game where it's characters in a like 2D picture book that manage to escape the confines of the book and break out into 3D space. And so it's got like, beautiful 2D art, but then also this very stylish, interesting, like 2D characters in a 3D world vibe to when they're out and about and exploring. And it just looks cute and extremely polished. And like, you can't really describe it over like a podcast very well, but it shows really well. You watch GIFs and stuff and you're just like, damn, that game just looks so cheery and fun and cool. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's like a top-down Zelda inside the picture book, right? And then it's more like a 3D platformer when he comes out, right? I think that's the whole like premise of it. So it's kind of a genre mash, which is always fun.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Looks like there's some Punch-Out stuff going on too. I see some Punch-Out like screenshots. Maybe that's just one with one specific boss. But,
maybe. Yeah.
Some of the art style, it isn't the same, but in a different stylistic way. It was reminding me a little bit of Cuphead.
Yeah.
Like just how much care
that
they clearly are putting into it.
Yeah, maybe like what it reminds me of is like the world map of Cuphead, totally. But you can play it. You basically can play it. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. Let's see. What should I talk about? Let's see. What do we got? We got this painting game called Ete. It's French. The game looks very French. You're a painter. You paint things in the environment. It's very beautiful. I know the main premise of the game is to paint other things and sell them to your neighbors, and it's kind of like comfy cozy. It kind of reminds me, the idea is kind of like East Shade, if you guys ever heard of that game, where you're kind of like painting things, but the world you're in feels like you're in a watercolor painting. So it's kind of like exploring a world, painting things that you see, selling your artwork, and it just looks it almost reminds me kind of like maybe a little bit of Unfinished Swan too, because like it's like
that too.
Yeah, like a white landscape, and then like the paint comes in as you're painting stuff. So it's really cool look to it, at least.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen or heard of this one, but yeah, watercolor Unfinished Swan is a good way of describing it.
Something about watercolor and the people from France, because Dordogne is the exact same water, not the same, but it's watercolor and based in France, right? So, but yeah, looks beautiful, very cool.
Yeah, it looks heartwarming. Like I'm gonna play it, I'm gonna be like holding back tears the whole time because of how beautiful it is, Yeah.
Yes.
Too dang true.
All right, so my probably last one here. We discussed prior to the episode. I don't often look forward to a lot of different games. There's a select few that I do. Hades 2, Sea of Stars last year. A lot of times I just kind of happen upon games as we're moving through the year, and even games that are pretty popular like Cassette Beasts, right? I really didn't know a lot about it going in last year, so. But one that I've been looking forward to for several years now, and I'm not entirely sure that's coming out this year, but I have seen more and more updates, so I'm thinking it's a good possibility, and that is Little Nemo and the Nightmare Fiends. I don't know how much you guys know about this, but anybody who's been listening to the Polymedia Network for an extended period of time might remember a guest on Drunk Friend named Chris Totten, and he is the one, him and his team are the ones making this game. Most people probably remember, especially retro game players, probably remember the Little Nemo in Slumberland, I think it's called, on the NES. And what a lot of people don't know about that is that Little Nemo is actually a comic strip from like way back, early 1900s. And eventually it ended up falling into the public domain, which means that nobody owns it anymore. So now people can use that character in different things. And that's why they are producing Little Nemo and the Nightmare Fiends, which looks like it's going to be a very cool game. Almost looks like you're playing a comic strip in a lot of ways. I've did some I kickstarted, or I was a supporter on Kickstarter of this game, so I've kind of been following it all along. Looks like a really cool game, basically like playing a cartoon, sort of like Cuphead in certain ways. But yeah, I'm very excited for that one.
That's a good one. Little Nemo on NES was one of the games that I grew up with. It was in my childhood stack of 20 carts, and it was one of them that I played the most. I love that game, chucking candy at monsters and stuff. So,
yep, for sure.
I hope it's good.
Yeah,
looks awesome.
I do see on their Kickstarter that Mega Ran's going to be on the soundtrack, so I don't know what that's going to be. That's kind of feels a little maybe like weird for like the art style, but hey, I trust it. That's cool. I mean, he's a good artist, so let's see what happens there. That makes me more interested.
Yeah. He's been on it like ever since they came. Chris came on Drunk Friend. Mega Ran was always going to be on it even back then. So
nice.
But yeah, should be cool.
Good stuff. All right, I got one more. I'll bring. This one is like the one that I'm bringing that's not a sequel or one that people will know a lot about maybe. But it's a game called Nine Souls, which is just this very stylish, very suave looking. I'm assuming it's going to be kind of in the vein of like a Blasphemous or something, sort of a 2D Souls-like inspired game, maybe a little gated exploration in there too. But it's one of those games that the art style and just kind of like the fluidity of it is what grabs your attention first and foremost. It seems a very like fast-paced kind of action-y hack and slash kind of game. I know that there's a big focus in the combat on parrying, so they're borrowing, if Blasphemous is 2D Dark Souls, maybe Nine Souls is 2D Sekiro, but I don't know how hard that's going to be, because obviously I haven't played it, but yeah, it just looks so freaking stylish.
Yeah, it looks like something that would be on Toonami in 2007, the video game.
100%.
Yeah, I've been tracking this one for a little bit too. Found it organically on Steam when I found Selfloss, actually. So I didn't know a whole lot about it, but it was on my list as well.
Nice.
Looks like a very cool game. And I just want to critique Steve here. You can parry in Blasphemous, Steve.
I've never played it.
Tell me you've never played it without telling me you've never.
Sorry, guys. Is it parry first? Is it parry in the way that like Sekiro? You can parry in Dark Souls, but it's not like the parrying game. Sekiro is.
I would say Blasphemous. You don't have to parry, but it's if you want to get the most out of things, you do parry, right? I mean, otherwise you end up swinging a lot over and over and over again to kill some enemies that you could just parry once, and it's not really like it's that hard of a mechanic to do. Honestly, we probably should bring one of us should bring Blasphemous at some point.
I heard the sequel of Blasphemous 2 is like incredible, like one of the best games last year. I just haven't played either one.
Yeah, I thought about jumping in on it last year, but it's like, well, do I do that and then bring it to the show? And we haven't brought Blasphemous 1, so maybe this year we'll get around. Maybe around Halloween time, get around to bringing one or both of those games. So yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Oh well, I have one more. It's called Hauntii. Have you guys heard of this game at all? It's like a top-down game. It's a hack and slash style action adventure. It looks like you take it a little bit slower. The main mechanic is you are a ghost that possesses things in the environment to solve like environmental puzzles. And the art style is really cool and unique. It kind of looks like, the way I can describe it is if somebody who is inspired by Tim Burton drew on a chalkboard and turned that into a game. I feel like that's a pretty easy way to describe it, maybe.
Yeah, if anybody knows, what is I should know the name of it. The Pokemon that is like a ghost that is wearing like a sheet that looks like Pikachu. It's like a Mimikyu. Yeah.
Mimikyu, yes.
It's like if Mimikyu was like a Heartless. That is what the character looks like.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Like Organization 13 hood going on or something.
Let's not go that far.
Yeah, let's not go that far. Okay. Well, I can get into some Kingdom Hearts lore if you want to,
So you got to understand. So in the Keyblade War, Ventus.
Oh my god. They went to Castle Oblivion and they started losing their memories, right? And okay. But anyway, yeah, exactly.
I do want to mention, Josh, I'm glad we have our doc, but anybody who's out there saying, I'm looking up what I think Hauntii should be, and I cannot find it. It is Haunt and then 2 eyes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is not the easiest thing to find by just saying Hauntii. I Googled it and I was like, oh yeah, I can just go to the doc and find out how it's spelled. But at first I was like, well, it's just giving me haunted.
Mhm.
That's not what I'm looking for. But I think this, you guys ever used to read, what the heck are they called? Like the Scary Stories books?
Oh yeah, the one that had like the weird like face that was a hill with like a big like red nose or
Yes.
Mhm.
Horrifying.
Yes. This
Scary
art style.
Stories
it's
to
not,
tell in the dark. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
Is it Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not that art style exactly. It's definitely more detailed and less dark and sinister. But as soon as I saw some of these screenshots, it reminded me of that black and white, haunting, creepy vibe.
Yeah,
So.
it looks like creepy cute. You know, like it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that this will be like one where we bring to like the Halloween episode or something. It really has that vibe.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, for sure.
but I also wanted to mention before we close out this segment, this is the year of the gated exploration or Metroidvania. If you're a noob, you know, but there's a lot coming out. Like we got Earthblade, which is a Metroidvania. We got a game called Ultros, Animal Well, and you guys know Silksong's coming out. I have hope it's going to come out this year.
If we say it every year, will be true eventually, right? A broken clock strikes twice.
It is definitely the decade of Silksong. No doubt.
Definitely.
That's
everybody's.
very true.
I'm just excited that genre feels like it's like. I mean, it's been around obviously, and there's been a lot of them. I just feel like this year is going to have like a lot of bangers. Like I know that it's not indie, but that Prince of Persia game looks awesome, and I just feel like we're going to be playing a lot of those this year, and we're all going to be like, hell yeah. You know, it's on gated exploration. Put a gate there. I'm going to explore around it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Take the 2024 don't play a single roguelike or gated exploration challenge. You can't dodge all those bullets. You can't miss them all. You got to play at least one or two. All right.
Well, if there's any 2024 games you guys are looking forward to, feel free to reach out. Send us a tweet or email IndieQuestPod@gmail.com. We'll read them on the show and, you know, shed some light on some games maybe we don't even know about.
Mm-hmm. For
Yeah.
sure.
Get us hyped.
So we do a thing. Yeah. We do a thing here on IndieQuest where we bring games to our ever-growing list, which I looked at has about 130 games on it, both on the main quest and the side quest now, which is pretty awesome.
Woof.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's growing. That list is huge. It has 2 sections,
Seriously.
the main quest and the game quest. Game quest?
The main quest and the game quest.
I got
Game
too
com.
excited there, so my words started jumbling together. Anyway, the main quest and the side quest, the main quest games are like the best games. They're like amazing. You can have anybody say, hey, play a game from this list. It's going to be awesome. I sound drunk now. Anyway, side quests are games that are still really good. We recommend them. We don't bring any games here we do not recommend. There's probably just a little caveat. Maybe it's a game for a specific fan of that genre, or maybe it's a multiplayer game, or maybe it's not quite as good as a main quest game, but you should still put it in your repertoire to play in the future. Who wants to bring their first pick today?
I'll lead us off,
Okay.
if you guys don't mind. I'll be the appetizer to your guys' entree/wonderful dessert. All right. So I'm wondering, I'm sure that you guys have heard of this game. I'm wondering if you have played this game. I played for IndieQuest today a little game called Carto.
Oh, yeah.
I have not played this game, but I am very aware of it, and I've intended to for quite some time. So I'm pumped to hear about it.
Yeah, I haven't played it, but I've heard of it. So I'm interested to see what you say.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there's quite a few reviews on Steam. It's been out since 2020, October 27th of 2020. Developed by Sunhead Games, published by Humble Games, one of the big indie publishers. And it is on PC, Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. Not Series, so the previous consoles, I suppose, PS4 and Xbox One. Overview of Carto. As the name implies, you're a cartographer So it is I added this part. I don't think there's a single person out there that said this, but it seems this way to me. It is a god simulation slide puzzle adventure. And when I say God, the reason I say that, and I'll get into it more later on in the gameplay stuff, but you kind of play God. You move puzzle pieces that then moves the land that you're walking upon, right? Changes the landscape. So very cool in that way. But let's talk about presentation first. I'm sure you guys are looking at some screenshots.
Mm-hmm.
It is a hand-drawn game. I think the best way I can describe it is it looks like someone took several different colors of construction paper, depending on the environment, and used the nicest Crayola crayons they could to draw details on top of them. So that's what this game looks like to me. I mean, it's certainly hand-drawn, but that's the vibe.
Yeah, there's got to be a name for this style, because there are other games kind of that use a similar aesthetic to this, where this sounds derogatory, but I promise it's a compliment. It's like, what if like corporate mandatory security trainings that have weird clip art, what if that was actually really good?
Yeah, that's a good call. I like that a lot. Like, oh, what are they trying to do here? They're trying to make me feel good about taking this thing that I do not want to do, right? They make me feel good about working right now. Yeah. Completely agree. All right, moving on to the story. So you play as Karto, like I mentioned. At the beginning of the game, you're flying in an airship. It's basically like a very fancy plane, but the majority of us have probably played RPGs. It's that kind of an airship, right? Propellers, big and bloated. And you're up there with your grandma, and really it seems like that's Karto's whole world. She's never really known anything else, just hanging out on this airship with her grandma. And one day her grandma shows her these puzzle pieces, these map pieces, and kind of shows her, hey, if you move them around, look below, look out the window. When you move this over here, look what happens. And the land masses actually move, right? As Karto plays with this puzzle, the land below them moves around. So that's the general premise of what you're getting into. The reason you play the entire game is because Karto gets separated from her grandma, falls down to the land, and through 10 chapters, you have to search out and find your grandma again after talking to a whole bunch of different, townspeople and locals around each environment that you come across. The music. At first, I was like, oh yeah, it's a very chill. It's good. I mean, the music is good, but you always get an early impression of everything that you play in games and everything you listen to. And at first I was like, oh, this would be very cool to kind of chill to and listen to when I'm working, or if somebody had to study, it would be nice, chill vibes. But then as I went on, I don't necessarily know that that's true. I think the music works really well in the game, but it is overly simplistic at times, and it's kind of by design. Each tune will start with one instrument, and that one instrument will kind of go up and down as you're going through, and it'll have a very basic melody. But then as you progress each of these chapters, which isn't basically different land masses, right? You're different islands, basically. And as you progress on those islands and actually put things together, solve puzzles, the music evolves. So another instrument will start playing. And then as you solve another puzzle, another instrument will start playing. So by the end, the songs are still very basic. I don't want to give you this interpretation that it's this orchestral symphony by the end, but it does evolve, and more stuff kind of gets combined to the point where, it makes you feel good to be solving the puzzles, because it's almost like, oh, I'm advancing the gameplay, but also advancing other things that are appealing to my senses, right? Which is kind of cool.
There's like it's a puzzle game, and I've often it feels like an unsolvable problem to me sometimes, but I know that it's been solved in some games. Music in puzzle games is hard because
Yes.
it has to be one, it can't be distracting, right? Like it has to fade into the background because you need to not take up any of your mental space as you're trying to work out the puzzle. And then also you need to it's almost like RPG battle music. Like you need to be comfortable hearing that music a lot, and you especially need to be okay hearing that music when you're stuck on a puzzle, staring at it, not knowing what to do. Like it can't agitate you or make that situation worse. So you have to, like, it almost has to be like a little bit, like it has to back off a little bit, but it also still needs to be obviously good.
It's not that this music isn't good. I think it's all. I'm not a music person at all, but it's all put together well, composed properly. It's not bad. It's just at first I was like, oh, this is going to be kind of nice to listen to. And it always was just kind of nice to listen to. That was the point of the music. But like, I remember, Steve, you playing Birth, and I feel like I remember the Birth soundtrack being, it was calm and chill and cool and all that, but I feel like I could listen to that soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like it would feel okay listening to that soundtrack.
Yep.
Just to myself.
Interesting too, because in Birth, the puzzles aren't very hard. I wonder if it's like they had a little liberty to go a little further with the music or something. But yes, for sure. I get what you're saying.
Okay, well, that will take me to what is the hook of Carto, and that is the gameplay of any puzzle game. The gameplay. I've kind of already explained it a little bit. I will give another little genre soup here. I'm calling it an unbound slide puzzle. So, I know, Josh, I don't know how much you've played Pokemon. Have you played much Pokemon?
Oh, yeah. I used to play it all the time when I was a kid. So I know Pokemon pretty well.
So have you played Gold and Silver or Crystal?
I mean, when they came out, so it's been that long, but yes.
I'm wondering if Steve knows what I'm alluding to here. But Steve, do you remember when you go to the ruins of Elf and you can go into a cave and there is something you walk up to that you have to reorganize? It's a slide puzzle, right? So you have to make it into... One of them is Kabuto, and the other one is Aerodactyl, right? I think that's...
I remember this. Mm-hmm.
That is what Carto reminds me of. You're not specifically trying to make a picture, but it's very much like that, except for get rid of the borders. There are no borders in Carto. You can move your pieces all over the place and wherever you want to, but each side of these tiles, right? Each tile has 4 sides. They're squares. Each side has a different... environment, biome, and when you put the pieces together, you cannot touch 2 biomes that don't connect, right? So you can't put ocean right next to a forest. It doesn't work. Forest has to connect to forest, and plains have to connect to plains, and sand has to connect to sand. And it's pretty easy. You kind of figure it out because they're kind of all different colors. So whatever color it is, you know that you have to connect to that. But the way this works is you fall down as Carto onto the land and you're walking around, and then you find a piece of paper laying, pick it up, and the game kind of instructs you, hey, that's a map piece. So you can press a button, I think it was Y on the Xbox controller, that then there's like 2 sections of the game. One where you're Carto walking around talking to people, figuring out clues and things like that. And then the other part, I would say the main part of the game is pressing Y, and then you're zoom back out and you can see down like you're God. You can see down onto the land, and you can move all of the pieces around as you want to, depending on what the puzzle calls for. And you can also spin each and every piece 360 degrees. So as many times as you want to, 90 degrees at a time. So you can fit them all together like that. So the reason you have to slide these puzzle pieces together at all is because maybe a townsperson's like, well, I lost somebody and they're lost in the woods. Well, you see where there are woods. So you walk over to the woods, and then maybe you find another map piece. Oh, there's a map piece, and you go back to your map. Oh, there's more woods. So you put the woods up, and you find another map piece. And that's the most simple of them. There are some where it's like more like a maze. Like if you guys have ever played the original Legend of Zelda, you go to a section in the original Legend of Zelda where you have to go like, what is it, north, south? I can't remember exactly, but you have to do the exact right 4 directions in a row in order to, and you unlock the new area. There's parts of that like that in Carto, except you're just using the same tile and flipping it to the other sides of the current tile you're on, right? So you don't, at first it's kind of weird because you're like, I don't have enough tiles to go that way. But you realize, oh no, I do have, I just need to grab one of my other tiles and put it on the other side of me. And then I walk over there. And as you start doing that, the jingles start playing. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm going the right direction. Then you grab another of the tile. Maybe there's a signpost that says, oh, go left, go right, go east, go west, go whatever. And that's kind of how this game works. It gets more complicated as you go. Some levels have different layers, some of the chapters. So you might, on top, you can, when you're up top on a specific chapter, like on the ground level, like before you go underground, you can move the map tiles. But then when you go underground and you look at your map, you can see the map tiles, but you can't move them. It doesn't let you. So you have to go back and forth between the 2 levels in order to actually move them and figure out how you need to get them to fit together so that you can follow the path underground, right? I'm sure it makes sense. And there's been plenty of games that have been like this. It's not a overly new concept, but it's fun. It's serviceable. It's a good time. Talking to all the characters you get to talk to, there's a lot of witty humor. Carto is basically a silent protagonist, so she never really says anything, but she meets a lot of people, and they never really understand how you're able to get everywhere so quickly, which makes it kind of funny. So sometimes there's a character that's like, I haven't seen my husband or something, and I always thought it was funny to just be like, well, I know what tile your husband's on, and I'm just going to put him right next to you. So they're like, you can see them in the same frame, and they still say the same stuff. Like, I don't know where he went, and he's just sitting over there. Like, I can see him from where I'm standing. That's awesome. But that's just the goofy stuff you can do. But the puzzles increase in difficulty. There's a vicious, towards the end, slide puzzle that I probably was making a mountain out of a molehill, but it was ice physics slide puzzle a la Pokemon as well, except for much more angular, not so north and south. You're kind of going all over the place. So it was a little weird, but very satisfying to figure out the puzzles. Yeah, overall, pretty good game. Do you guys have any other questions?
Did you ever get stuck? Or is it one of those where if you spend enough time, you slide these around, twist them around, you eventually get there type of feeling?
Usually if you're stuck, you can walk around and talk to enough people that are within your vicinity that eventually you will be able to piece it together. There was one time when I'm like, I literally have no idea what I'm doing. And I was walking around all over the place. I'm not going to reveal it. It's a little bit later in the game. I talked to everybody, and honestly, I feel like I was probably tired. It's not one of those games. Whenever you play puzzle games and you're tired, you're not firing on all cylinders, right? Yep. So there is something that I would call key items, right? So you have an items bar, and for the most part, they don't really do anything. Sometimes you get a letter from your grandma, and she's like, oh, I saw you, and I'm going to be over here now, and that's kind of progresses the story. But I talked to a specific character that gave me a specific item that had the clue on it, and I'm like, oh, cool. And I was thinking that the thing that was on the paper was something that it wasn't. I should have just looked harder at it, and it would have told me what to do, that kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, I cannot figure this out. I have no idea what to do. So then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to look it up. I'm just going to get to the very part where it's going to... And that's all I did too, right? I got to the part where it's like,
yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah. I'm an idiot. Close. And then went back, right? Like that. But for the most part, most of it should be able to be figured out, especially by people who play a lot of puzzle games. And lately I've been playing more and more of them. So, I feel like I can get through most of them for the most part. But yeah, I mean, there are parts that kind of will hang up certain people, I'm sure. But overall, it's a pretty fluid experience.
Yeah, I looked it up, and how long to beat has it at 6 hours, looks like. So
yeah,
it's kind of long for a puzzle game. I don't know. I feel like they must, keep things fresh or iterate enough to make that 6 hours go by.
Yeah, one of the they do, and I talked about the layers and how there's different, like in certain levels there's different layers. One of the other big things towards the end is, usually you have a 4x4, 1x1, I guess, square, right? Later on in the game, there's a section or a chapter where you have pieces that almost look like Tetris pieces. And it doesn't allow you to take them apart. So then you have to figure out how to move them all together and make sure they're matching up correctly. And so, yes, it does evolve as you play. It is a little bit long in the tooth for this kind of game, I would say. Okay. For the most part, it's a good game. But yeah, a lot of the stuff you're doing is somewhat repetitive with new elements introduced as you go.
Does it have like a nice like payoff story wise when you finish it up, or was it just kind of like, oh, that was pretty good,
Yeah, I mean, anybody who's played a game like this before or has played a story like this before is probably going to basically know what happened. I mean, you're not really playing it for the story. No, I will say that.
Gotcha.
It's a nice, cool, heartwarming story, I guess, but it's been done a million times. So, but all right. Well, I will put Carto on the quest log then. With everything we've talked about, I think it's probably maybe pretty obvious where I'll put it. It will be on the side quest.
Not the game quest.
It's a good game. Not the game quest. Not this time.
No.
The side quest. It's a good game, especially people who enjoy puzzle games. If you haven't played this one before, anybody who likes this type of game will get a kick out of it. I don't think that people who don't enjoy puzzle games would be able to come to this game and be like, oh man, I'm a puzzle game fan now. But it's also a game that, and I think this is this way with the puzzle genre, right? Like I can give Tetris to my grandma and they'll configure Tetris out. And that's puzzle games, right? Puzzle games is basically an evolution of a word search over time, right? That's kind of what it is. And that's what grandmas like to play. But so yes, it is fairly easy to get into, but like I said, if you're not into that genre, it's not going to make you into it. Good game. Pretty easy breezy, somewhat longer topper.
Nice. I respect it. Nice. You have continued my desire to play it at some point. It sounds basically exactly what I would have expected it to be like, which is not always a bad thing. Sometimes a known quantity is exactly what you need. So,
yeah, I would call this pretty much like a perfect side quest where you're like,
yes,
that this is gonna fit in when you're just in that mood. Like, there's gonna be a Carto day where I'm like, okay, I need to play this. Yep, yeah, it's perfect.
Something to break up in between big games.
Yeah. I bought it on sale a while back, like planning on bringing it to one of these. And it's like, oh, this is the perfect thing where it's like, I want to play a comfy side quest.
There you go.
Then play
there
Carto.
You go. Yeah.
Perfect for that.
Heck yeah. All right. So there's Carto. Josh, mine is going to be really short, actually. So do you want to end on mine as like a nice little, a little slice of cheesecake after the main dish?
That sounds good. I got a game for you guys today. All right. This game is, let's see, I want to do like a little description for it. It is a first-person rogue type game where you play as a bunch of cute, cuddly creatures trying to fight their way up a summit to fight a giant polar bear that apparently is, the story's kind of weird. But anyway, it's a roguelite and it's a shooter. It's called Gunfire Reborn. Have you guys heard of this game?
Yes.
I've heard the name, but I certainly would not have guessed literally anything you just described to be in that. So, all right.
I did not know that
you
was
play as either. Okay, so there's multiple characters. So the game there's not much story in it. It's a roguelite. The whole idea is you're going through different levels to fight bosses at the end of said levels. Each world has a very there's 3 to 5 stages per world. So say you're in the temple world, you have 5 that you got to go through, 5 temple areas that you got to go through. Some of them have waves of enemies to fight. Some of them have bosses. There's some secret rooms that you can find that will have mini bosses or special chests that can unlock more things. So pretty much the idea is you're trying to fight your way through, defeat all the bosses, and basically defeat the boss at this top of this summit. And when you do, you get a little Easter egg of credits inside of a mountain top. And that's pretty much the whole point of the game, is try to get to the end. And it's first-person shooter. There is, I would say, over 100 different weapons that you could pick up. I feel like I'm always seeing either a different weapon or a similar weapon I've seen, but with like crazy different stats on it. So it's one of those where like it's every run is just a little bit different, which is perfect for this genre.
So it's kind of like a looter shooter in that way.
Yes.
From screenshots and stuff, I get kind of a Borderlands vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, it's kind of has a cell shady look. I would say cartoony, cell shady. You do play as furry creatures. You can play as a dog that can do dual wielding. Each character has different powers. So like you got a dog that's you can do when you pop its special, you can do dual wielding of the two weapons that you have. You can carry up to two weapons at a time. So you can have like a rocket launcher one hand, or like a glove that shoots laser beams on your right hand, and you can shoot them at the same time if you're the dog. If you're the cat, you have like grenades that you can throw that are like time grenades that freeze people in their spot, and then you can get like a lot of damage on them. There is like a chameleon type character or like a bird. I forget. It's like a green character. I think it's a bird. But anyway, they have like katana specials where you can like throw katanas at people and stuff. So each character has different abilities. This game is kind of made, I would say, mostly as like a co-op-y type game, but I played it pretty much solo. I did finally, the reason I'm bringing it is I finally beat the last boss, but this is a roguelite, so I'm going to play it a million times still. This is kind of like I have an hour. I'm just going to play a run of this game. That type of game. And so far, I've had a lot of fun. I think that it controls very well on controller and on PC. For a first-person shooter, I think it's one of the more unique ones. There are a lot of games that are taking inspiration from this now. Like there's a game called RoboQuest I played a little bit of that's similar to this. You can see the inspiration. But anyway, I'll talk a little more about the presentation. I do think that the graphics are nice. I would call them more serviceable. Like it looks like Borderlands 2, like pretty much like you guys were saying. There's some pretty decent songs. I wouldn't say they're not like Hades. You're not just bobbing your head like, oh my god, this music just rules. But I would say it's pretty good. Like it's solid music. I don't know if I would listen to it outside of the game. This game would probably be good for like a podcast game. Like throw a podcast on and just, shoot some dudes and there you go. But to me, it's just been really good time. I don't know what else to say right now. I'm trying to think.
How difficult if you've been playing it for a while, is it like relative to other roguelikes, how hard is it to get like a successful run?
I would say that it's kind of more like a Binding of Isaac situation where it's a little more luck based. It does take skill though, but I would say that even if you're like a really proficient like first person shooter person, you're going to have a hard time later on if you don't get the good rolls, like you don't get the good abilities, because there are chests in the world that you can go up to, and basically in the menus there are like skill trees per character. So say like I have that time stop grenade, like I can make that more powerful, or I can make assault rifles more powerful, or I can make my dodge a little bit faster, or it's basically just accumulates and builds on top of itself. And each chest has like 3 rolls in it that you can pick from, and they're usually at the end of each of the stages. So like I said, there's a world with 5 stages, so you're going to go through a stage. At the end of it, you get a chest. You kind of like make a class or build that you want to go for. Maybe this time I want to do all explosives. So I have a grenade launcher and a rocket launcher. Let's go. And I picked the things that were going to make my explosives a little bit more powerful. There's also 2 different characters inside the world that you just kind of, they're merchants just kind of chilling there. Like there'll be like a bunch of chaos going on. They're just chilling, waiting for you to talk to them. And one of them's more like, okay, this is your supply dude, so you can get more ammo, you can get more grenades. I think it does like a health pack. Yes, there's a health pack that's like a little bun, like a Chinese bun. And then there's kind of like a Chinese theme throughout the whole game too. It kind of has that vibe, like the, kind of like mystical arts and things like that. But the other dude is the guy that will upgrade your weapons. So say you find like, oh, I really love this rocket launcher. It shoots out lightning bolts, awesome. Let's level that up, and maybe you can level it up to the point where you're shooting down like giant like lightning bolts from the sky now instead of just outside the weapon. And so it's just kind of trying to do a run and build your character out, or at least this specific run out, to be successful and defeat the enemies and the bosses. So sometimes you go to a boss, you're like, well, I know this boss goes underground and then comes up out of the ground, so maybe I need to throw some stats into this landmine gun, so I can throw some landmines on top of where he's going to pop out, and then you can build that up. And it's pretty much just trying to plan out what you're going to do and be successful. But the game is very chaotic, man. Like sometimes you're going to go into a room, there's going to be like it feels like there's 500 guys around you that you just got to like bob and weave and shoot and everything. And it's just, it's pretty much what I like from a looter shooter or from Borderlands and games like that. It's chaotic and you can kind of make your build your own as you're playing.
Okay. So question from a rogue type fan, right? So I am a fan of roguelite like type games, but I am not a fan of first person shooters. Would you recommend somebody who really loves part of that genre, but is like, I can play them, but I don't often, right? Like that's very low on my list of game types that I play. Would you recommend it to someone?
I would say with a friend. Okay. Probably would be better. I don't know if you would have as much fun of a solo experience, because I played all the Borderlands games, Tiny Tina, I've played them all, and like I'm very into that, like, okay, which gun is the rarity type and this and that, like trying to like basically you'll see a gun on the ground, you're like, okay, so this one's like an epic, but it has maybe a little bit higher fire rate than this one. So that stuff can be fun because like this similar to that in different roguelites.
I like the stat stuff. I love that.
Okay.
Like,
so
spreadsheet me up all day long. I love that stuff. I just don't love the first person shooter interface. Like I used to play them a little bit. I'm just not great at them, so I don't play them often. So somebody who doesn't like first person shooters that much but loves the other genre, do you think I could, if I played co-op, I would get some enjoyment out of it, is what you're saying?
I think so. I think that it'd be one of those where maybe play some runs with friends and kind of get your feet wet with it, and then you can probably jump in by yourself and play and enjoy it. Cool. I kind of like a turn your brain off and shoot a bunch of things type of game, and this is pretty much what that is. But I do think that the bosses are pretty massive and epic, and they do the thing in this type of genre where you go to the level and you get to the end and you think it's going to be this boss, and this is a new boss. I've never seen this boss before, and they do that sometimes, and they surprise you, which is pretty cool. And there's like little portals on the wall. I didn't mention the secret room. So there's like little portals that you can shoot and then like go into the portal. And it's kind of like a risk reward. You can go in there, some of them, they'll have like a little icon. One of them's like a boss face, one's like a chest. So it's like, oh, should I risk it? Do you think the boss is going to be too powerful? And usually I do. And then if I die, I die, you know, there's always another run. But it's always cool to go in there because the bosses are always really unique. They usually take like one of the smaller bosses, like characters, and make them like giant and like on fire and like do a bunch of crazy stuff. So like there's like these little beetles in the temple stage. Like if you go in there, there's like a beetle that will like 3 times the size of you that will try to ram you and do like status effects to you and stuff like that. So I think that the variety is there, and I've seen people, this is one of those games people play for thousands of hours. I probably put like 12 hours into it. And I plan to play more. But yeah, I think it's for people, it's kind of hard to recommend if you're not a fan of roguelite or if you're not a fan of, you know, shooters in general.
This is one of those games that I think of myself as someone who's pretty plugged in and like aware of games that are popular and new releases and stuff like that. And this is one of those games where I'm like, where that view is challenged, right? Because I'm looking at screenshots and there's screenshots of like, oh, from their Twitter account, 2.5 million copies sold. I'm like, there's 2.5 million people that are playing this game that I know nothing about at all. Like I have no sense or context for that at all. There's like tier lists of characters or bosses or something. Like there's a whole, the Gunfire Reborn people are out there, and I completely blind to their plight.
Right. Yeah, so there's the same thing like Rogue Legacy and things like that, or Hades, you know, where you do finish a run and then you get like XP points that you can plug into the characters, and so you have a running XP level. So you can get that up to like, I think it's up to 100 or so. And then each character has specials that you can unlock if you play them enough. So say, you know, you're playing a dude that has a grenade. Eventually you can actually unlock other effects that character has if you play him enough runs, you know, enough hours put into that character. So there's always like another carrot on the stick to chase if you want to keep playing this and keep leveling up, which is pretty much what you would want from this type of game.
People in the rogue biz call that meta currency. So
meta currency.
It's like it's not the currency you get on your current run. It's the currency you get that will progress your overall game. Right. So
yeah.
I like it.
There's never a wasted run, right?
Yeah.
That's always a good feeling, you know? So
my final thought then is this game joins the ranks of games like Mario Party, where the art of the logo makes it look like it's a sequel to itself. The like art has this character shooting like a little fire thing, and it looks like it says Gunfire 2 Reborn. It looks like it's the sequel to itself. I always think of that with Mario Party, where he's smashing the party block, and it has a number 3 on it. So the first Mario Party looks like Mario Party 3.
Yep, good call.
It's like they're tricking me.
Yeah.
Anyways, where would you put it on the quest log?
Yeah.
Josh?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this one was a little tough for me, but I think that it, like, honestly, I'm really enjoying it. Like, this is like right up my bag. I love shooters. I love looter shooters. I enjoy roguelites and rogue type games, I guess. Whenever I'm annoying myself with that saying now, that phrase, rogue type. Anyway, I enjoy that genre and the clash of genres. Like, this is like a Josh game. Like, I would love this game a lot. I really enjoy it. Like, if I was going to put it on my own personal quest log, this would be a main quest, but I feel like for the general audience, it's a side quest, for our purposes here on the quest log. But if any of this sounds good to you and you want to play with me, man, I'm down. Let's play, you know? But I think that, for most people out there, this would be like, if I'm in the mood for this genre or I want to try this genre clash out, see what it's all about, I say check it out. So for me, Gunfire Reborn is main quest in my heart, but side quest for you guys.
Nice. I think the new Polykill challenge has beat a co-op game. So
it does.
Could be a good one for that, for all the people listening.
There we go.
So Steve, what you got for us today?
All right. Well, boys, speaking of the Polykill challenge, if you were snooping on my bingo boards, you could have worked out what this one was. But I'm bringing us a very timely, very relevant game that released January 30th, 2013, only 11 years old. And you could argue, is it even a game? It is a game, but you could argue that if you were someone with a weaker stomach or worse opinions. I'm going to talk about Proteus a little bit today.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
How familiar are either of you with Proteus?
I'm very surface level on this one. I've heard of it. I kind of know what it is. Surface level. That's it.
I don't think I'm at all familiar with it.
So for folks, to be clear, it's Proteus with a T. Proteus. If you look up Proteus with a D, that's like a gory Doom.
Yeah, I was like, this is Doom. This is a game, Steve. Like, where are you?
Yeah, that one came out last year or something, right?
Yeah,
Proteus, the other one.
So you're gonna be very confused if you're looking at Proteus and not Proteus.
Seriously.
As I talk about this, so Proteus is it's an adventure game, I guess. It's like a vibe simulator. It defies genre. It's just weird. It's developed by two guys, as far as I can tell. Someone named Ed Key, who is the designer, and then David Kanaga, who is also a designer and also composed what you could call the music, the soundtrack. And like I mentioned, it came out a long time ago, 2013, and it's to date it. You can get it on Steam, PS3, or PlayStation Vita. So those are your platform choices here for Proteus.
You played this on Vita though, right? With that OLED, and you're just sitting there chilling.
You know I did, yes.
Yeah.
So I'm serious when I say that Proteus is like a vibe simulator. So there is almost no objective to this game at all. It's more like an interactive space that you just kind of hang out in. Now, technically, like, there is a progression, and technically you reach credits, but like, this is not a game with like objectives or like you kind of accidentally stumble into finishing the game without any real intention or even knowing what you're doing. Yeah.
When you say it's an interactive space, I just see you like talking on a keynote for like a VR platform or something. Like, this is the interactive space everybody should enjoy.
Honestly, this game would be good in VR. It'd be a perfect
I bet
fit.
it would.
It looks like, yeah.
So every time you boot up the game, you start up a run. I don't even know you could call it that, but you click start on the main menu. The game will automatically and randomly generate a world. And the world is an island that you can walk around and explore. There's actually a couple ways you can generate worlds. You can either ask the game to completely randomly generate a world. There is a daily world, which honestly probably doesn't exist anymore. I couldn't get my Vita to connect to the servers to do that, but like it might be possible on PC. Or interestingly enough, you can use your current location to generate a world. So it must be like using GPS coordinates or something to like plug into their random number generator.
My world would be very flat.
Well, an awful lot of corn in this world. Interesting. But so you start the game, you're dropped onto an island, and it's an island. It probably takes like, I don't know, 5 minutes to run from one end of the island to the other. Maybe not even that long. Something in that range. It can vary depending on the island that's generated, and it populates the world with a whole bunch of different like flowers, trees, landmarks, and also like a smattering of like animals and just things to discover. And the entire point of the game, this is like the type of game you should put headphones in and just kind of zone out with. All you do is you just wander around. You wander around and look at the world that has been generated for you. It's like a like a Winamp visualizer. It's like that level of interactivity where you're just watching something pretty happen. And you can tell that the game is like all about just you like vibing in the space, because there's only like a couple of buttons, and one of them takes a screenshot, what the game calls a postcard. And one of them lets you sit down. Like you just sit where you are and soak it in. So
wow. you know what this really, everything you're describing, I had this thought at the very beginning, and looking at the screenshots, and then now the way you're describing it, it literally looks like a rounded rounded off, 2Dified Minecraft that you don't do anything in.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's literally what was in my head. It's like, I used to do that, like just throw in random seeds in Minecraft and just see what pops up.
Yeah.
And just like not even do anything, just fly around in creative mode and just see what happens. It feels kind of similar to that. Yeah.
It's like how my dad would play Minecraft because he can push a joystick, but he can't do anything else. He'd just walk around. That's all he'd do.
Very fair. I mean, it doesn't have that cubic art style, like you said. It's rounded off, but it is very pixelated, but it's a 3D pixelated space.
Yeah.
And so you wander around. There are some like things to discover. I'm not going to quote unquote spoil them because like discovery and exploration is kind of all you do in this game. But you do find certain things that you can engage with. Or you'll come across some like, like, oh, there's a little owl in that tree. I can watch that little owl. Or, there's a little rabbit that I run by. When I get close to it, it hops away from me. Stuff like that. The whole game is running on a day-night cycle, so you'll slowly watch, like, the moon come up and the stars come up and then the sun come back up and all that.
Dang nice sunset, I will say. It's pretty nice sunset.
It's some sky hype. Yeah, for sure. It's a high-quality sunset. You'd want to make a postcard out of that.
Seriously.
Sunset, let me tell you.
My question is how's the wind? Does it have a good wind sound effect? It's callback.
The wind is... Well, the wind is minimal, but you know what? Let me tell you about the soundscape. That's how I would describe it. It is... You could even call it like a soundtrack. It's more like generative audio. So as you walk around, you'll get like little, almost just like kind of like random pixelated-y kind of piano sounds and music. As you engage or get close to things in the world, you'll get more or less sounds. So like you get close to a frog and it hops away, and maybe when the frog hops away, it gets a little like every time that he jumps. It's just like it's like Mario Paint. You're just clicking around and having fun. And so there is technically a loop to it. The one objective you have, and this I'm gonna quote unquote spoil it for people, but like if you're playing this game to mainline the story, you're playing the wrong game. When a level turns to night, and this happens in like real time, you can actually set the day-night cycle. The lowest that you can set it to is 15 minutes, but you can set it up to like an hour or maybe more. When nighttime falls, there will be one spot on the island, and it always generates. And when you go there, there's like kind of some like twinkling white dust or something in the air. And when you stand in that particular spot in kind of this like Stonehenge type thing, it will change the season. So it starts in spring, and then when you do a full day-night cycle, then you can change it. You can go to that location, change it to summer. And so the trees will change colors, different creatures will be available, different flowers and things will sprout up. And then you can ultimately change it through to fall and then through to winter. And all the level stays the same, but again, the different, flora and fauna will pop up in different locations or change, or the leaves will change color, whatever it might be. But it's really just kind of like a different aesthetic to the place that you're wandering around. And your enjoyment of this game is entirely hinged on whether or not you just want to chill out, right? Like it's like, I don't know, are you the type of person that wants to just like lay in a dark room and like listen to some lo-fi music or something? It's kind of like the stimulation equivalent of that. You really have to make your own fun, because the game is not directing you. It's not giving you any challenge to overcome, nothing. Like you're entirely on your own. Again, you can poke around, you can find some stuff, and like different things happen in different seasons. You know, there's some kind of like more mysterious things you can come across in autumn and things like that. But by and large, you're just enjoying the ride, baby.
The strangest thing about this game that I've noticed so far is sometimes especially when a game like this is being talked about, or one of my friends is, talking about this game or telling me to play this weird game, I will go to Steam, as we have often done, and look at some reviews. And I was mostly expecting to see meme reviews, for this kind of a game. But I'm telling you, the overwhelming majority of these reviews are like multi-paragraph. They're not even joking. It's crazy. I don't.
They're like analyzing it.
Yes, it's weird. Or telling stories about how they were in this dark place, and this game, helped them feel better and whatever. Like it's just kind of wild. Like I was not expecting this.
I mean, I'm not going to pretend to be a mental health expert or anything like that, but in my ignorant view of the world, accompanying other treatments and other therapy and things like that, you could prescribe Proteus as a cure for low-level anxiety, right? You could be like, you got some anxiety, just chill in Proteus for like an hour, all right?
Yeah.
Just hang out, unplug from the world, get off that phone, plug them earbuds in, and just Proteus it up for a little bit.
Nice.
I think I need to take your advice, Steve. That sounds great.
Yeah, man. Get in there. Enjoy yourself. So, I left it on the default 15 minutes or so. So I probably spent about an hour and a half doing a run. And I went back in for a couple more. I just hung out, just chilled, enjoyed my time with it. But yeah, the game it's slight, but it's intentionally slight. Like, you could look at some screenshots and like make some assumptions about the type of game it is and go in and be really disappointed. Be like, oh my God, this is like nothing.
Yeah.
This is like, like you said, it's like Minecraft if they took out all of the building and all of the interaction and all the gameplay. Yeah.
Right.
But on the other hand, if you kind of know what it is and you go in expecting that, it's like, yeah, man, you can just hang out for a while, just enjoy it.
So does this have like actual songs that play, or is it more just about the like sounds in the environment type of vibe?
I would liken it more to like a relaxing electronic version of Ape Out, where like noise just kind of happens as you interact with things in Ape Out, and like you call that a song, but like, is it a soundtrack you're going to listen to? No. It's kind of like that, but if that was the type of music that plays in your therapist's office while you're in the waiting room waiting to go in and talk to your therapist.
I'm assuming you're about to put it on the quest log, Steve, and I gotta know.
I have to.
It's
the law. That's the rule
the
of
law.
the show.
That's the point of the show, right? That's the whole thing. Yeah.
You will see the local Minneapolis Police Department storm into this game room if I don't do it.
That's so true.
Are there trophies? I'm gonna find out how big of a scumbag you are right now. Oh yeah, it's just I played several runs. Yeah, you played several runs, Steve. For what reason?
In my defense, I didn't start it because of the trophies.
Oh,
I started it because I had purchased this game on Vita from Limited Run Games, and I was like, all right, this looks chill. You actually really don't get any trophies naturally, really. If anything, I would say this game's worse with trophies. Like, the trophies were kind of like they had to try to think of something that could be an objective for you to do, right? And so it wasn't awesome. The trophy hunting experience, separate from the game itself, not great, kind of janky. Now, did I happen to learn that there was a trophy for playing through the game 3 times? Yes. Does there happen to be a polykill bingo square for beating a game 3 times?
Oh my
God. It's not my fault that
just waddling in the muck.
Oh man.
It's not my fault that the gods gave me this answer to the question I was asking. Okay.
That's funny.
Sometimes we find ourselves in a place and we have no choice but to capitalize. But
could have played Super Mario World 3 times, but he's playing Proteus 3 times. This is the Steve we all know and love.
This is the most Steve move ever, which is awesome.
I respect it.
Appreciate the hustle. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You got to honestly. Let me peel the curtain back. Let's trophy talk. I'm gonna tell you right now. All right, people.
Trophy.
I would recommend you play this game on PC. Hopefully, there's no Steam achievements. There's a trophy in this game for viewing in one run every single flower, tree, plant possible. Like the game always generates every single possible thing in every world. And there's a trophy for viewing it all, which means that you have to make sure you have seen everything before you move to the next season. Otherwise, you're locked out. And you have no way of knowing or tracking what you've seen until you finish the game. And the trophy either pops or doesn't. And after an hour and a half of like zigzagging through the island trying to stare at every flower, when the trophy doesn't pop, you're like, what am I doing with my life? What a waste of time. Like, if I died right now, no one would miss me because I'd make no healthy decisions.
I am not at all calm right now. Yeah. I think that if I had to obtain that trophy, I would do the mowing the lawn method, where I would go back and forth and then turn and just go a little bit more over and then come back and then go back down and then come back down and just hope that I actually saw it all.
Yeah, I went with the wheel and spoke method. So you got the Stonehenge where the seasons change. Yep. I just took one rock, walked all the way out to the coast, and then, went like 10 degrees around the clock and walked back towards it. Made sure I peeped every piece of grass along the way. Stupid. Absolutely not the intention of the game. The least fun thing I did. Don't be me.
That's funny.
You can do better, listener. But my first playthrough was the intended experience, thankfully, because I didn't even look at the trophy list until I beat it. And it popped a trophy at the very end. And I was like, what the trophies are. And then I was like,
trophy.
A little dopamine hit. You gotta keep getting it.
That's funny. All right, Steve, where are you going to put it on the quest log after all that?
All right. It would be way too high and mighty of me. It would be way too much for me to put this on the main quest. Okay. Like, this is a specific type of thing for a specific type of person, or for someone who has intense curiosity about again, the structure of what is the minimum a game can be and still be a game. Because this is very much the type of game where people who, the 2.5 million people that play Gunfire Reborn every night, they would look at Proteus and they would be like, that's not a video game. All right. And it's like, it is, but I see the seed that started this thought that you have, even though I don't agree with it. So yeah, I'll put Proteus on the side quest. It's enter at your own leisure, but know the room that you're walking into. Know how you're going to spend the next hour of your time, because it's, again, Josh, this type of game I recommend to you for sure, Josh, because you're someone that can vibe with something like Kind Words. You can get down with just again, a space that's just kind of energizy. It's just I'm here. Let's roll with it.
Yeah. I'm just laying in bed on Steam Deck, just kicked up. Just
Yep.
I could see myself enjoying it.
Make sure you get the headphones going in, because you can kind of fully immerse yourself, and have yourself a good time.
If anyone out there has ever booted up their PC and before you log in, you see your screensaver, right? You see maybe the screensaver that we all love, where you're kind of looking through this cove. I think of it as like a cave, but you're looking out in the water. And you ever wanted to turn around and see what was behind you? Play Proteus. Screensaver, you play with a joystick.
There you go. It's funny, on the Vita version, there was they added a touch mechanic where if you touch a screen, it has a little cursor or something that shows where you're touching. I don't even think it does anything. I think it's just that if you want to touch the tree, you can. I don't think that there's any actual interaction.
It's it's like the pet the dog or something, but for trees.
Yeah, it's funny. Just you just want to touch it, and it goes.
Does anything happen when you do the back touch? Does that do anything?
No. I don't think so.
Come on!
It should be like Tearaway, where your fingers come up through the hillside. Yeah. No, that's not the game. But yeah. There's Proteus. Oh,
awesome. So we got 3 side questers today, which is not a bad thing. These are all recommended games, like we always say. So we had Carto from Seth. We had Gunfire Reborn from me, and Proteus with a T from Steve. Awesome picks.
Darn toot.
So I think we're kind of winding down on the podcast, so we're going to do our favorite thing. We're going to do some plugs. But before we go into that, I do want to mention something that's kind of new we're going to do with the show. For the chapters of the podcast itself, we're going to be revealing the games to people so that it's easier for you guys to go to a specific game and find the games. This is a request we've had from our community, so we're going to try it out, see how it works, see if people like it. So if you don't want to spoil yourself on what games we bring to the quest log, I would pretty much just say press play and enjoy the episode without looking at anything.
Yeah.
So.
If the dash of your car or whatever shows you the chapter markers as we hit them, you're maybe going to get spoiled by like 5 seconds.
Right.
Like the
5
sentence
seconds, yeah.
of build-up. So it's like you'll still not know. But it turns out when you have a show talking about games, it's good to let people know what games you're talking about.
Yeah, maybe we were being a little too over secretive at times, but that's okay. We're just having fun here.
We're a group of coy boys.
Yeah. So you can find the show on Twitter at IndieQuestPod. You can send us emails at IndieQuestPod@gmail.com. And I don't know if you guys want to do this, that hashtag idea. What do you think? Doing a little hashtag second opinions. If you have an opinion about the game that you played from the IndieQuest or the quest log, what do you think?
Yeah,
I think that's a good idea.
If folks are into it, yeah, give it a shot.
Yeah, so if you play a game from the quest log and we recommended it to you, hashtag second opinions, and we'll talk about it on the show.
I'll do a preemptive plug. We've already talked about Polykill some, right? So there is a bingo space where you have to play an IndieQuest game. And if anybody wants to do them all, or just at least wants to do that row of them, I would love to get tagged in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Find out. That's a nice little crossover.
Yeah, love it. Speaking of Polykill and plugging things, you can find me at Frantic Society on Twitter. Where can they find you, Steve?
At Blinkoom on Twitter and Twitch are the most likely spots to find me. How about you, Seth?
You can find me at Captain Drachma on Twitter, and of course in the Polymedia Discord, best place on the internet. And also, if you want to join that Discord, head on over to Patreon, type in Polymedia, and choose the tier that gets you in the Discord. Come hang out with us.
And speaking of Polymedia, let's just plug some shows from the network. I'll start here. We're going to talk a little bit about Polykill, show that Steve's on. They have their brand new 2024 challenge all about bingo. If you want to hear about that, listen to the latest episode. They go into detail about that. It looks really fun. I'm excited to participate this year. So check out Polykill. What's a show on the network that you want to shout out, Seth?
I will shout out We Got Goosebumps. They are rolling out hot and heavy all the time now, very regularly. So if you like Goosebumps books, if you read the Goosebumps books when you were a kid, go check that podcast out with Trav and Dylan. Steve, shout out a podcast.
Go check out Drachma's podcast, Drunk Friend.
Oh, jeez.
Right? No, I'm just kidding. He's just a good returning guest. Talks a lot about the RPGs over there. But no, I like Drunk Friend because it's just evolved into listicles at this point. It's just power rankings the whole way down. So it's like, for a time they had the illusion of like, here, we're giving you inside baseball about running YouTube channels. And now they're like, here's how much I like a Wendy's chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
Okay. Relative to a Popeyes. It's true bottom. It's gutter content, and that's exactly what I want. So get over there, crack your PBR and listen to an episode of Drunk Friend. Have a good time.
Yeah, and matches the name, right? Drunk Friend. You expect the listicles just from the title, right?
Yeah, exactly. It is legitimately good.
I'll be honest. I knew that they were going to do the chicken sandwich list, and I was like, yeah. But I was invested by the end of that list. I was like,
same.
this is a crap list.
How could you?
Yes.
You're just like screaming to yourself, like, God. Yeah.
Yep.
So true.
Check all that out at polymedianetwork.com or in the Discord, which we post about all the time. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for our show. I had a lot of fun today. I think you guys did. You guys had a lot of smiles going on, so I think we had a good vibe going. So who wants to close out the show? Somebody jump in and close out the show today.
I'll jump in because I want to mention something. We're closing out here, and we didn't mention it all on this episode, I don't think. But next episode is going to be a second opinion. It's been quite some time. I know there are people out there that enjoy those episodes where we bring each other's games and kind of sometimes shit on each other for it. So come and check it out.
Usually.
It's a fun time.
All right.
Peace.